What's up, everybody? Rob here. So I'm going to be doing a kind of off-the-cuff video here today. I'm going to be talking about environmentalism and my opinion on the environmental movement and everything associated with it. And it's going to be completely unscripted, just going to be me talking, and I'm just going to be going because, hey, why not? It's the topic that's in the news past couple of weeks, and I figured I'd give my 2 cents in on all this because, hey, why not? Just so you know, it's going to be repetitive, meandering, and not really having much of a point, but that's kind of the high quality you can come to expect from me. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, without any further ado, here we go. So, the big issue that's on everybody's mind is that of climate change. The idea that the planet is increasing in temperature and soon the planet will be uninhabitable. The big doomsday scenario that everybody's quoting now is that the planet will be completely uninhabitable in 12 years. Actually, that was said about 6 months ago or thereabouts. So, we got about 11 and a half years until the planet is now completely uninhabitable and we are all dead from climate change. And the big issue with climate change, or the big cause of climate change, is the fact that humans are pumping greenhouse gases, basically gases that trap heat, mostly in the form of carbon dioxide, but also methane and other gases as well. And this is causing the rise in temperature. And I just want to give my thoughts on this. And okay, first off, is the climate changing? Is that a thing that's happening? Well, yes, of course the climate is changing. We are getting somewhat warmer. That is absolutely true. And the other question is, are humans a contributing factor to it? I personally, given that, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a scientist. But looking at what's the data is, yes, I believe humans are a contributing factor. Is the world going to end in 12 years, though? That is the really big question here. And the answer is a resounding no. The world is not going to end in 12 years due to climate change. Now, these doomsday predictions have been going on since as far back as I can remember. There was global cooling back in the 70s, which was before my time, but the world was going to turn into a giant ice cube and we'd be uninhabitable. In my time, it was global warming, not climate change, but global warming. The polar ice caps would melt and, everybody would be flooded by by the year 2000 or thereabouts. There's a whole list I could look up of failed climate change predictions. I'm sure you've seen that. I'm not going to look it up because I just don't care all that much to show you. You can look it up on your own time. Any case, just prediction after prediction after prediction have just failed. And I don't see this particular one as being any different. Now, I am in favor of environmental protections in general. For example, pollution control stuff like emission standards. Yeah, I'm actually fine with that because, if maybe it doesn't contribute to climate change, but I don't think we should be breathing that stuff in. And all things considered, the United States does a very, very good job in regulating emissions. Our air quality here in the United States, for the most part, there are areas that need work, but generally speaking, we're pretty good. Also, things like littering, that is an environmental thing. Yeah, okay, don't litter, sure. Recycle whenever possible. Don't dump toxic waste or, industrial waste into a river, stuff like that. These things have to be dealt with in an appropriate and safe manner. I'm totally fine with that. Actually, I encourage that. I like the environment. I like nature. Trees are cool. I like trees. But the big issue here comes down to power generation. And you saw pictures here of windmills, and now we got solar panels coming up here. And the issue is that a lot of people are touting these as solutions to our problems. Now, I have nothing against these things in general on principle. The problem is that as solutions are not as good as solutions as people think they are. The amount of energy generated by a windmill or a solar panel is not nearly enough to basically provide the energy needs for a Western industrial and post-industrialized nation like the United States, like most of Western Europe. Now, this may change as technology improves. Technology is improving all the time, but we cannot base our policies on what technology might exist sometime in the eventual future. We have to use the technology that is available, and right now, wind and solar, they simply are not, they don't generate enough power, at least as it is now. And it's very difficult to, store the energy for use later on when, say, there isn't any sun or isn't any wind. I'm up here in northern New Jersey. There was no sun yesterday. It was pouring rain all day yesterday, so no sun. And as far as sun goes, it's coming up to be winter soon. There's not a lot of sun then. And wind is a very transient thing. Sometimes it's very windy, like it was a couple days ago. Today, it's a light breeze. It's not nearly enough to generate any sort of power. Also, these things require extensive mining operations in order to get the minerals needed to produce them. Actually, I think solar panels require petroleum, if nothing else. So, the amount of environmental protection created by these things, you need heavy mining equipment to get the materials necessary to make these things, thusly negating any sort of advantage you get. So, these things are, at best, it's a nice idea. They're nice in theory, but it's simply not a feasible one. But don't worry, environmentalists, we do have a solution to your problems. It is called nuclear power. Yes, it is clean, it is reliable, and will provide all the power we need with virtually no emissions. And yes, nuclear power is totally safe. And I know you're thinking, okay, Fukushima and Chernobyl. Okay, Fukushima was built on a fault line, which, okay, don't build your nuclear power plant on a fault line. Okay, very simple, very easy right there. Don't build it right on a coast right next to a place where anywhere you can get hit with a giant tsunami wave. Generally not a good idea. So, okay, Fukushima is not an argument. And then you have Chernobyl, the big one, Chernobyl. Okay, that was a Soviet design. So, you know, when I think high quality equipment here, I think the Soviet Union. And what happened was they were running a test at night with a skeleton crew, and the people who were running the test were people who didn't know what they were doing. They were the second stringers, not the experts. And they lifted up all the control rods and let things go out of control. And they could have at any point hit the override button, which as soon as you hit these graphite control rods and that shuts down the radiation and shuts down the reaction. They didn't do it till it was way, way too late because they want to keep the test going. And basically, like you said, they were second stringers who didn't know what they were doing. So Chernobyl is also not an argument. It's simply, not an issue. Okay, we have nuclear power plants around the world. I think France has something like the majority of its power comes from nuclear power plant. They are safe, they are reliable if done properly. They are perfectly safe, and yes, I wouldn't mind one in the city where I live, because everyone says, oh, would you want one living nearby you? Yeah, I'm fine with it. Do you want to know why? Because your exposure, if it's set up properly, which we know how to do, it's not like this is a mystery. If it's set up properly, you get more radiation, because you're being exposed to radiation right now. You get more radiation walking around outside, from sunlight, than you get from being exposed to a nuclear power plant. If everything being safe and contained and you follow the safety instructions and all that stuff. So yes, nuclear power will provide all of the power we need at, in a clean, reliable way. And you see that there? See, like, look at all those emissions coming out of the smokestacks there? Yeah, that's water vapor, okay? That's water vapor that is, it's clouds. It's not emissions. It's not CO2. It's nothing like that at all. It is everything an environmentalist want. And for some reason, though, for a number of reasons, they don't want it. And I just want to point out real quick that I was actually somewhat disappointed when I figured out how a nuclear power plant works. I was always under the impression it was some kind of like weird, mysterious, like science-y stuff going on here. And it turns out that it's actually just a giant steam engine. I thought it was like, radiation is captured and then converted into power using like, weird science stuff. No, it turns out that as the isotope of uranium or whatever it is breaks down, the splitting of these chemical bonds creates heat, and that's used to heat a giant water tank. Basically, it's a giant steam engine, and that's pretty much all it is. I'm like, wow, that's actually really anticlimactic. Yeah, I thought it was something really cool, but, whatever. So, in any case, we have this really reliable, clean form of energy that is readily available. We know how to do them. There are plenty around there. So the question is, why aren't people advocating for this? And I'm positive it's for two reasons. One is that people have these gross misunderstanding of nuclear power. They think it's this insidious force that's going out there and, just going to start, doing unpredictable things. And no, I mean, scientists, not me. I'm a history guy, not a nuclear physicist or anything like that. But we have a generally good idea how nuclear power works. We understand how radiation works, and things, if properly put together, which we know how to do, it is a very safe, very reliable thing. It's not unsafe at all. So people use these misconceptions, mostly from media, like nuclear bombs going off and Godzilla and all that stuff. But, have this weird idea about nuclear power. But no, it really is safe, and people just have a misconception that way. The other reason, though, is that I think there is a degree of closet socialism in all of this. If you look at any proposals that are being proposed by anybody who's, obsessed with this, like the world's going to end in 12 years type stuff, it's all about, to give more control to the government, give more control over to them. We need to, turn over all energy industry over to the government. We need to turn all housing over to the government and, all construction over to them. Farming has to be sent over to the government. We have to get rid of our meat consumption. I actually saw this thing over the weekend about we have to eat cockroach milk. Now, cockroaches don't actually produce milk. What it is you take cockroaches and you grind them up and make like a milkshake type slurry, and we have to live off of that because the meat industry is killing us because of the methane. Okay, that is quite literally a bunch of bullshit. See what I did there? Boom. Yeah, this is the high quality stuff you can come to expect from me. But we have to control like what we eat over to the government so they can give us, bug slurry. We have to live in tiny little pods. We have to eat corpses. That was a good one. Yeah, we have to eat corpses because if we have to get over our human taboo, even though that causes all sorts of issues, and it's just really, really sick too. I mean, it's just, it's absolute madness, and you know it's madness. I know it's mad. They know it's all madness too, but it doesn't matter because they want to use the panic of potential climate disaster as a way to gain control. It is that simple, and it's really just, that's all there is to it. I mean, Extinction Rebellion, the guys you see here, they openly say, it's right there in their mission statement, our priority is not that of protecting the environment. Our priority is that of overthrowing Western civilization, basically destroying capitalism and structures and institutions that they find to be oppressive, like heteronormativity, which is, that's a fun one, because, that's apparently, being heterosexual is, a construct of Western oppressive systems, destroying capitalism and free markets, and, just basically anything like that. It's straight up a way for them to destroy Western. It's basically Trojan horse Marxism. It's Trojan horse anti-capitalism, anti-Westernism. I don't know if anti-Westernism is an actual legitimate phrase, but it is now. But it's just straight up. They're flat out telling you what their plan is here, and they're just using it, using environmentalism as just a cover for their true motivations. So the next time you're confronted by any sort of environmentalist or anybody talking about the environment in any way, a couple things. Just first off, really dig a little deeper into what their actual goals are. Are they really concerned about the environment, or is there something else going on here? It's something to keep in mind. And just, if you can, ask them or find out what their opinion is of nuclear power. Because if they're not in favor of nuclear power, they're either incredibly deluded or they have some sort of ulterior motive. So that is it. That's just my opinion on this particular issue. And by all means, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about all this. Keep it polite, keep it civil. There's enough vitriol out there. Let's not add to it. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this. In any case, please hit the like and subscribe button. More videos will be coming out whenever I get around to it. And have a good day. Or don't have a good day. You're adults. You can have any kind of day you want. See you later.